to our first game of this grand final. Always usually a fun series between these two when they end up competing, as we'll start off in the top left corner with the blue Terran player, repping Team Liquid, of course. It is Clem. He takes on the red Protoss in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. It is ShoWTime. The first game of this best of 3 Gresvan as a starting map is really the map that I feel like is maybe the most... Do we say it's the most balanced? It's kind of the most kind of neutral map. Across all of the matchups even, right? Like, this is a map that can be pretty okay for pushing on, but it can also still see those kind of, split map, kind of later game scenarios that encourages that. But not in such a way that, like, an Ancient Cistern or an Altitude does. So we see a lot of this in best of 3s for TvZ. We see this in a lot of best of 3s for ZVP and in TvP as well. So the fairest map of all comes to start us off in this best of 3, at least in this current ladder map pool. As we have our first probe scouting out to the top left-hand corner. Is it a close matchup? Yeah, I would always say Clem ShoWTime is a close matchup. The only thing I will say is that Clem's TvP lately has been very good, but ShoWTime is always at that level where, to me, ShoWTime is always a player that can challenge Clem. If Clem loses to ShoWTime, I'm never like, oh my god, what the hell happened here? Shell shock, oh my goodness. Like, it doesn't work like that, right? Like, ShoWTime is absolutely capable of taking on a Clem, of taking him down, for example, so... Yeah, we'll be fun to see what they bring out in this. As you see our command center going down. A little out of position. Probe obviously getting that block off is a little bit annoying. We'll be seeing our assimilator coming up, Pylon and the Cybercore both coming through. I still really feel as though ShoWTime is always like this big threat in tournaments who is just never quite... Like, ShoWTime is one of these players who, when you see like a tournament come through, he's always like this player who can absolutely go and take down anybody, right? Like, how many times have you seen a ShoWTime in a tournament really bring it to like a Serral, or bring it to a Rain, or have a run where he knocks out some very good Korean players? What I think ShoWTime struggles to do is to put a lot of those series back to back when it comes to tournament runs. In a way, maybe that's partly his style, right? Like, he plays a pretty solid macro style, and that will work, and a lot of game plans. That will work against a lot of other people's games plans. But he can be quite predictable, and I think that really takes away from his ability to kind of go on these longer runs. And something about pretty much all tournament winners that we've had in StarCraft is how often do people do it off of, like, the back of, like, one certain thing? Like, okay, like, Beyond won a BlizzCon on the back of Reapers, okay, yeah, sure. But even, like, when Serral was on his streak of dominance, Serral wasn't just playing the most standard macro game every time. He had Roche Rush and ZVT, he proxy hatched Haas in a grand finals in Valencia. The ability to mix it up, the ability to do these more aggressive builds, these more aggressive pushes, keep the opponents on edge so they don't get comfortable, so they don't feel like they can cut corners. And that just keeps your edge kind of in play as well. And that's one thing which I'm not sure is, apparently I completely missed the Reaper down over here, so that's a little bit of a shame. Bunker got cancelled up and Clem doesn't succeed on this harass. But it's one of these things I feel like a lot of the top players are really realizing and doing, just making sure that they're unpredictable, that they change things up. And ShoWTime just, to me, that he's the one player that doesn't really do that as much. You can kind of expect triple Oracle most games in a PvZ. You can probably expect him to play, some kind of macro Phoenix Colossus or Blink into Colossus. Most games PvT, right? It's always got that kind of macro element to it. He's never really like, alright, time to 2-base all in. And to me, maybe that is the biggest weakness of a ShoWTime. He just perhaps doesn't mix it up enough. But he's so good at what he does, right? Like, so then I can understand not wanting to. But that's how I feel about it all. So yeah. But yeah, TLDR, very solid player, very scary player, and can absolutely take down, I would honestly say, pretty much anybody on a good day. Like, he really can do. Blink coming up here, as we do have ourselves the Stargate to blink one Oracle only, which means it's a pretty fast blink follow-up despite the Stargate. I always feel like, personally, this style is one of the most scary to play against, to play with, not necessarily against, because it's very fragile. You're so far away from splash damage for such a long time. The Oracle provides vision, but it doesn't really provide added defense, so your initial kind of investment of a Stargate and an Oracle doesn't naturally like sort of sit on the map and says, hey, look, I'm going to push back any mean Terran push that comes my way. No, what this is going to do is it's going to help you provide information and stay safe until that Terran push comes, at which point then you have to put all the other pieces together, and like I say, that's oftentimes going to be with a later bit of splash damage, a later few extra units, because you've only just gone getting the blink going. So it can just be that little bit of a fragile style. A lot of players do not like playing this because they just kind of roll over and die at 6.5, 7 minutes to a push like this one. ShoWTime, he needs to be on the map right now because he wants to start chipping away at this army of Clem before he gets to the other side. He can't let Clem just walk across the map for free. He absolutely knows this, as we will start to see this little bit of a micro duel. Clem also knows that this is exactly what ShoWTime is trying to do, so he kind of wants to, push those Stalkers back without ShoWTime buying too much time. He also wants to try and still be making progress to the other side, so the kind of directions he pushes these Stalkers is nice. I think he realizes here ShoWTime that he is cornered, so he actually does recall the Stalkers out. And that actually means that as Clem still chases in the bottom left because he didn't know about the recall, ShoWTime can flip this on him. These Stalkers come through, they chase away that Bioforce instantly, and that was just ShoWTime taking advantage of, again, a lack of information from Clem. He could know the recall had gone down, and ShoWTime, like I said, just utilizing that to his favor. And now Clem has kind of lost enough units that ShoWTime is not really under pressure at this first main timing of the Terran player, which, as I was just talking about, is one of the scarier moments when you're playing an Oracle into Blink. And that Blink forward there was beautiful as well. Catches the Medevac with the final couple Stalker shots. ShoWTime having a really good trade so far. Look at what he's killed for an Adept and an Oracle. It's just sad to see the one Oracle go down because that is your kind of, vision for the moment. But 1250 to 425 resources lost in Clem. Just bleeding out units. Tries for a Widowmine drop here. I was going to say, if that wasn't the line of sight of blockers in the middle of the map, that would have been spotted by those Stalkers and maybe would have got shot down. In this case, they will make some moves, but Stalkers are already in position, ready for something like a drop moving in. Just prepping over here. Kind of back around the back. A couple of mines going to come through. We do have our Stalkers. That's going to come from the main base, potentially go to the natural, potentially go to the third. A few additional Zealots will get warped in already as our Medevac just chills out over in the corner. And again, +1 attack is already building through on the Forge. Our Gateway morphing into a Warp Gate. And this army of Clem is going to go on a little bit of an advance down to the bottom right corners. A few Stalkers get here. First Stalker already goes down. The second Stalker very narrowly drops, but just about gets away. 2 probes already dropping as well, as a few of these Stalkers actually taking a lot of damage. ShoWTime blundering. That was about 4 Stalkers just dying to a bit of a move command. Probes in the main base need to get back to mining ASAP. We can't allow for disrupted mining for too long here. Now, Super Battery is already running out of time as well. ShoWTime sees that actually this is an opportunity where I can chase a little bit, though, and maybe get a little bit of value back on his side just before Clem does get reinforcements across here. Before this army gets powered up once more, he's actually getting a lot of these units, especially Marauders, which are a little bit more expensive to go replacing every now and again. It's not exactly going to come cheaply. And actually, ShoWTime gets a very good set of trades on the start of this. The Widowmine drop came back in, though. This Widowmine got a few more probes. It's now 9 kills. I actually got 7 probes, I think, with this second shot. I had 2 earlier. That's painful. And it's still not dealt with. ShoWTime is building a cannon. It's going to fire one more time before this cannon cleans it up, though. So if ShoWTime doesn't respond once again, he's going to pull the probes this time, and he does just lose one more. That means that ShoWTime is suddenly trailing in workers where, he might be expected to be leading. 54 to 65 is not pretty for Protoss. The Terran has triple mule available, and you don't really have DTs or anything on the map to kind of stop the Terran player dropping mules either, so you're not taken away from their economy in some other form. Stalkers will re-engage up this ramp. The Marine Marauder getting chipped away. I mean, this is one thing ShoWTime is doing well. Kind of striking on 2 sides means that Clem is kind of having to split his army up in a weird way, in an awkward way. It's not been perfect, for somebody that is typically very good at multitasking. He is struggling to kind of find the right balance of units. ShoWTime, can he actually jump on top of this army of Clem right now when it's kind of half and half still and he can bring everything together? Yeah, he got a few kills out, but he gets chased away in the end. And again, just this little bit of bio that's left is so valuable, able to get so much done in these scenarios. So that bio coming across, chasing the Stalkers out of here. And where do we sit? 64 to 61 workers. Clem's still in the lead with that, and again with the mules, that's going to mean a pretty substantial income advantage for him. You can see that's been in his favor ever since he really got that big Widowmine drop off. It really just comes down to if Clem can stabilize a little bit, get a few more units up and running, he should be able to just be okay here. Zealot Stalker ain't going to cut it forever. As Ghosts come onto the field as well, especially, you're going to hit some EMPs that are absolutely going to just delete this Zealot Stalker army. And I kind of feel as though that's very likely going to be just a little bit too much all said and done as our Bioforce sets up on the top side. Some more Zealot Stalker around the bottom. I just don't see a fight here for ShoWTime that really goes so well for him against what is now an improving Terran force. It has to be something like this, right? Where you're splitting up, you're playing different places, you outnumber Clem here or there. I mean, this is great. We're going to get the medevac that goes before anything happens. That's exactly how ShoWTime will fight, you know? And it's not like one big fight. It's more of, it's not even really a fight. It's more of like a harassment, or what do I want to call it? Like, it's kind of more like a harassment, right, from ShoWTime that just finds units. Because there was no fairness in that trade. There was no fair way to kind of trade back as Clem. And ShoWTime, because of that, is actually doing very well. And now he kills 11 SCVs, which is actually going to knock Clem down. ShoWTime's been building probes himself, so we're going to retake a bit of an income lead from ShoWTime, resetting from that kind of dangerous position he was in before. And my only concern is if Clem can just find 20 seconds where ShoWTime isn't fighting him, isn't split up, and goes across the map with everything, including a couple of ghosts with energy for EMPs. Right now, having those ghost count reset is actually going to hurt him. If you can just find a little bit of time to get ghosts up and to go across the map with them, then I think ShoWTime is still in a ton of trouble. And it's not like ShoWTime is doing anything right now to stop progressing out of this still for me. You know, he's still just on Twilight Tech. He's still just on 0 splash damage. It's pure Zealots, it's pure Stalkers. This is all about trying to keep momentum in your hands. It's an extremely difficult style to play successfully. ShoWTime's doing a great job of it so far, but the margin for error is so small. I'm genuinely just don't think it's going to work out of it. I do think in the end, Clem just gets that one big push that he needs, because Clem's so good at finding those kind of pushes. Clem's so good at forcing those kind of fights. I honestly think we're just a few moments away from seeing something of the sorts, and that will probably be a rough ending for ShoWTime here. Clem finishes up +2 attack as well, so upgrades are even. Assaults and Stalkers chilling out in the center as our Stalkers come through. He's going to knock down a Widow Mine. The Orb's still up in the sky. Our extra results coming through. The gateways are coming up. Stalkers will pick off one medevac already. He's just going to knock that down straight away. Bioforce back around the top. In the top right, so liberate again a few probes just in case Clem was the one in need of any further damage. It's the same attack from ShoWTime. As he pushes on the right, he's going to try and strike on the left. You've seen this one before. I mean, again, at this point, it's almost scripted because that is the only thing he can really do. He can't really afford a straight-up fight. He takes a little bit more of a straight-up fight now, this fight with no ghost from Clem, but again, look what happens when the bio is allowed to just kind of stand and trade. There's just too much of it. Again, we've hit that kind of massive bio where the pros player cannot truly kind of stand up and fight against them anymore. And that's the issue. So again, the moment that ShoWTime actually slows this down and try and take a more normal trade instead of just split fighting, it goes terribly, as we do lose 11 probes again. So for all the damage Clem might have been taken over here, he also finds himself a few more workers himself, and he just knocks down the pylon to slow down the proxy warp-ins, although there's a base right here too, so maybe we could just warp in from there. It's about another 7 seconds of walking away for most units, I guess, on average. A couple more probes going down. Again, you can look at the graph. See that ShoWTime kind of was bouncing back, but again, just keeps taking these shots from Liberator, from Mines. And these little bits of harass are really the key to Terran late game in TvP, because you don't think that one little Widow Mine drop can do so much, but actually forcing the entire mineral line to stop mining to back away, especially when games are a little bit scrappy like this and there's been a lot of trading out. Moves like that and denying the Protoss economy for however long it takes for the probes to move away, Widow Mine to be dealt with, and then the probes to come back, it hurts. It adds up. If you do that 2 or 3 times, you know, you're talking about a lot of lost money from ShoWTime. When you're talking about, you know, the base mine, you know, almost 1,000 minerals a minute, for example, it becomes a huge deal, right? It really does. Fire coming in, Zealot's going to charge forward. Just going to see our Zealot's still coming by. Our Stalker's blinking forward, and a lot of SCVs going down at the same time against this split push. Tell you what, Clem's supply is dropping. It is mostly the SCVs. I still think army-wise he's okay, but of course, eventually, if you lose too many SCVs, you cannot necessarily remake the army as you may need to. This Orbital Command is low HP as well. Didn't love that the Zealots are still here on the right side. That feels like something ShoWTime wants to try and prioritize saving. 90 workers against the 60, and if he can just keep chipping away on these edges, he may very well get there in the end. He might just be able to make the final couple of moves is that Observer has free pickings, but is not going to find it, so ShoWTime can maintain vision. Obviously, Clem trying to get a 5th base up and running. Looks like we did turn around. We get the obs just before the scan runs out. Back down to the south, ShoWTime regathering Zealots and Stalkers aplenty. Readying up their move on through as we jump on top of this 5th base, just as we were talking about. That's something that's nice for Clem to be seeing. He's going to get taken down instantly, so ShoWTime not messing around. And now, has ShoWTime done it? You know, I've been very critical of how he's playing. Not necessarily how he's playing, but of the style he's playing. You know, I think he's been playing it beautifully. But like I say, it's so dangerous. It's so scary. Because you can take one bad fight, everything gets wiped, you get counterattacked, and you have no way to stop it. But he might have just about found enough to now be in this position where A, he's slowing it down a little bit, and B, Clem is just not able to quite max out himself, which means the next waves of attack of ShoWTime may start to just kind of really whittle him down that little bit extra. To the point where maybe we can find ourselves something more akin to truly some like game-ending damage, perhaps, so it's getting fun, guys. It's really fun way to get started in this finals today as Stalker tries to come up the front. We are getting to more ghosts, by the way. I think that's worth mentioning because up until now, the ghost count has been reset a little bit. It has been kept a little bit lower. Now the ghost count's starting to look a bit better too. The disruptor shot flying in. The bio has to dodge backwards. Some additional zealots just coming now. We do see our Stalkers now. Zealots continuing through as well. Advanced ballistics coming in. Liberators are building. And now just going to be seen our +2 ship weapons all coming up here. As our Bioforce comes back through, one more Stalker goes down. A bunch of Zealots are going to head to the south side. +2 armor still coming in. The Disruptor already producing as well. Here is my new kind of thought. If Clem maxes out, ShoWTime is probably not going to like that, because then it means that Clem's going to have a gigantic army supply. ShoWTime's been playing with so many more workers that, you know, Clem maxing out would then mean that he just has so much more army at any point. That you know, we're already still talking about ShoWTime maybe having trouble fighting. That is only going to be amplified by the setup that we're perhaps heading in toward very soon. So, something else for us to keep our eyes on as these fights set up. ShoWTime is having some splash damage brought in the form of the Disruptors. Tries to get rid of this 5th base once more. Going to get the Sensor Tower at least. Disruptor shot leads into 2 Widow Mines. So nice little cleanup there. On the right side, we're still ready to strike at any moment. ShoWTime is never just doing one thing. He's never just set up with one portion of the army, unless he's making a very decisive move. There's been a couple times he's brought his army together from the 2 halves of the map, and he's just very decisive. He said, right, now I'm going to fight here. I'm going to create this engagement. And from there, he's been able to do very well for himself. So, yeah. There's always, other than that, being active everywhere, at least ready to be a threat on the other side to where he's really focusing. It's one of the problems Clem has been unable to find a true solution to throughout the course of this first map. And it's just the Liberator up in the corner. We've seen a similar position to this already. Just trying to be a little bit of annoyance as Clem will really play around this forward base for himself. Disruptors do not really get going there. They get rid of a few of the mines that were charging through. This is where ShoWTime's in trouble. Trying to retreat away from a Terran army is never fun. The Zealots, though, feeling as though they're in good enough numbers to turn around and make a bit of a contest of this. And the Liberators even getting chased by the Stalkers. As Clem runs, this turns into a way worse trade out. And ShoWTime is able to really keep hunting him down. Stalkers blowing through. The EMPs going down across. Extra additional Liberators are all being set. A lot of Zealots that are kind of getting shot, though, by those Liberators. We do see the last little bit of Bio surviving. Not going to get hit by the Disruptor. And all said and done, the dust settles. Clem is chasing ShoWTime down once again. That Disruptor will not connect. The second Disruptor here will go down. And now ShoWTime is bleeding out expensive tech units. Trying to get away in this game. Trying to find a way to survive. As Stalkers and Zealots will turn around once more. The Bioforce going to be forced to lift back into Medivacs. Exactly what happens. Phoenix is on the way out. The Liberators are still producing in the bottom left. Zealots and Stalkers will come down here and just go straight toward this command center. Disruptor shot fires through. Just going to be seeing the EMP onto the Stalker's Zealot. The Zealots will start charge forward. A couple of Widowmine shots. Gonna hit a lot of those Zealots as well. 9 probes going down once more. There's just harassment somewhere. There's it there. There's the Liberator that's causing some of this. I believe there's something else at the same time. Clem has been very good himself at just consistently providing some amount of harassment on the Protoss bases. He might not have had the chance to kind of go drop with a whole bunch of bio units, but he's finding a mine drop here or a Liberator there, just little bits of his army that he can afford to send across the map that are just causing so much disruption for the Protoss player. ShoWTime charges forward here though, and maybe feels as though he's got an opening himself. A crack he can slip through. The Liberators start to seal the hole, however, as we will have that orbital command likely going to die before we're done with this fight, because the Stalkers can just right-click it down, but it looks like they're busy chasing forward. The Liberator will get shot down here as well, and with the Liberator gone, the Bioforce is left standing on its own. A few of these Zealots still trying to come to the front. Widowmines are about to recharge. I think ShoWTime is not wrong to start backing it up. Obviously, you wait a little bit here, and you are going to put your little bit of extra damage out in the form of the just reproduction, giving you a lot more units to work with. A couple things that ShoWTime could really have at the moment. First of all, +3 armor. It's something that's just kind of slipped under the radar. There's no reason not to get +3 armor in a game like this. ShoWTime doesn't have a lot of money at any point in time, but I think he's got enough economy to stop and save up the +3 armor for the difference that would make in some of these fights. So, would like to see that armor upgrade and that kind of set of upgrades completed. Outside of that, again, I mean, maybe there was a point where he could have really ramped up his tech beyond just disruptors as well. You know, I don't necessarily think we've been completely stuck on... Zealot, Stalker, Disruptor this entire time. I think ShoWTime's had the freedom where he could have done more if he wanted to. Again, I just can't see the freaking dots on the minimap to find out where this damage is. There it is. Libera is right next to a base. That one doesn't even have kills, but I assume it was something similar. Either way, more probes do get dropped. ShoWTime maintained about an 8-worker lead. More Stalkers down to the bottom. A couple of additional Widowmines burrowing up. Libs are going to get sieged up as well. Makes it difficult for ShoWTime to justify the big old fight into that choke point. Infi is going down. Stalker's taking shots. We're going to blink forward for Liberator 1, 2. Looking for 3. Looking for 4. Going to get 5. It's very expensive though. ShoWTime loses a lot of the Stalkers. They are not easily replaced. And now the Bio continuing to chase through is finding a little bit of extra cleaning up. Stalker or 2 getting shot down. Clem taking about a 40 supply lead on the tail end of this as well. These extra couple of Widowmines will get burrowed. A Disruptor shot fires through. Gets them as they are active still. So that's a full waste for Clem, as they will never get to shoot. We chase though, we get the Disruptor shot, and this army of ShoWTime really is just running. 44 army supply left in this game. Clem finally found what he needed was just something of a straight up fight. This army of ShoWTime was never made to fight straight up, and having to defend, you're kind of forced into that scenario. And it really looks as though we are going to have ourselves a Clem Game 1 victory in what is a best of 3 final today for this qualifier. That, my friends, is what we call pretty gosh darn epic, if I do say so myself. Hell of a first game. Has apparently got something. Probes, Widowmines, interacting. God damn it. I get new glasses soon. I clearly need them because I cannot for the life of me see on the minimap where these blue dots are that are dealing damage to these probes. They do exist though. The worker kill tab keeps showing up, so it's definitely something that's going on. Bottom left, Bio's going to go after this Nexus. That's going to go down. And yeah, we've got ourselves a little scan out to the south side. Just going to be seeing our Nexus here. Going to get picked through. A couple of cannons will get picked off. And Clem will just continue to say goodbye and goodnight to a lot of these Protoss forces. ShoWTime dropping some dots in a GG. I think he realizes. I think the dots are just truly because he really felt as though he broke Clem down. He had him on the run. He had him on the edge. And then Clem just refused to die. Absolutely fantastic first game of this final. GG, and Clem leads 1-0. Got in the top right corner of the map. Our blue Terran player taking the 1-0 lead in this best of 3. After a pretty incredible continued hold in game number 1. This is Team Liquid's Clem. In the bottom left-hand side, it's going to be our Red Protoss player. ... That was all he had to say at the end of that last game. Completely understandable. Cannot blame him. He definitely probably felt as though he... like I say, like, it was just like he had the momentum, and he definitely got to a point where it did feel as though Clem had lost all of his momentum, and it was all about ShoWTime. And he just wasn't able to transfer that into a victory in the end. So it's ShoWTime in the bottom left. Game number 2 of this best 3. Let's hope for a game 3, of course. As there's definitely been a series so far that would be very deserving of a 3rd map. I do say so myself. Tracks, gate, all coming up. Just going to be seeing our Nexus building on the side of ShoWTime. Clem has done some double gassing today, but this looks as though it's just going to be single gas, drop and expand after Reaper and Orbital. And pretty regular stuff for him, actually, without too many confusions or anything of the sorts. Cybercore Nexus coming through. Just going to see our SCV journeying down to the bottom side of the map. I'm putting a lot of work too. I mean, Clem did crazy good. I mean, to be fair, let's be, you know, if you really stop to think about everything that went on there, right? Like, Clem did such a good job of just slowly chipping at Protoss workers throughout the game as well. He was constantly, like, there was never really one moment where I felt like he was completely overwhelmed. If he did get overwhelmed on one side, he was kind of winning the fight on the other. And then he got back across to kind of deal with it before it became too big of an issue with the rest of his forces as well. So he was just very good at finding follow-ups and ways in which to minimize, you know, what did look like the better fights from ShoWTime, and he just kept his cool. He didn't rush out too far forward at any point either, right? He was always in a more defendable position. In those games, it can be extremely frustrating to just sit there and wait when it feels like you need an extra base and everything else, but obviously it is the right idea to sit back and wait sometimes, and in this case, Clem, I would say he was genuinely very good at that part of it. Like, it really felt as though he did a very good job in that regard. As Reaper just out the front, chilling. Trying to see a little bit of what is going on early. Obviously, we can see it's maybe not all that much. There's an Oracle on the way out. ShoWTime did open Oracle into the Blink last game, in case you missed our openings. A single Oracle straight toward Blink was the way we got set up. As we play Ancient Systems, typically the Protoss map pick in the best of 3, so nothing too surprising about that. And just going to be seeing a few Marines coming through, getting the Adept. The Adept taking some damage, and is looking to try and shade on top of these couple of Marines as well. Not quite going to be able to, though, as our probes continue to produce. Viking coming out, a few Adepts will go shading forwards. And Warp Gate just going to be setting up on the Warp Cybercore as well to get that up and running, as our Nexus will build on the 3rd base location. The Adept gets over here. The Widowmine went off, though, I believe, on one Adept initially, on a couple of the Adepts. A few Marines going down. I'm extremely slow to join this fight. I apologize. But there's only one Marine left. As that goes down, ShoWTime's like, finally, some time to deal some damage. And then the Viking pops and the Oracle is dead. But we get one more SCV. Do we like that overall? I don't think we like that. As, that's an Oracle and 3 Adepts. 7 Marines and 3 SCVs. The Oracle is obviously your early game kind of, you know, tech investment as well. Actually now going to build number 3 as we already build 1 additional. It's waiting out just kind of somewhat defensively, I guess, over on this side. Robo Facility and Twilight Council both coming through as our Oracles will split apart a little bit. Alright, Robo, a couple of additional gates all coming out here. Just going to be seeing our extra gateways continuing up. And just going to be having ourselves the double Oracle of ShoWTime heading across to the upper right corner of the map. Gonna be moving into this main in the next few moments to try and get a little bit extra damage dealt. So in we go. First SCV is gonna start taking some hits. Barracks lifts off, gonna move over to that tech lab. The couple of oracles escaping back around the sides, back down to the bottom. Charge and a sentry, immortal as well, all continuing up. ShoWTime clearly looking pretty comfortable in his follow-up and very different to that previous game, so mixing up his style, not going to do the same thing twice. And there's one single Phoenix, we'll see if he makes any more. I don't necessarily think he needs to. He could just kind of go Mortal Archon from here and play kind of more into that than this being like a Phoenix charge kind of style, so seems kind of cool. Viking coming down, the Oracle will take a couple shots of damage. Just going to be seeing the Robobay Forge continuing up, a couple extra pylons on the way in. The assimilator is still building. Our oracles are still out on the edge here. Our charge still coming through. Our forge is about to be done. Probes on the way up. Obviously, one of the big benefits of having these additional oracles are these stasis wards. So just going to have multiple stasis wards available to help slow down some of the Terran pushes. They play a good time. They last about 3 minutes, but, you know, that's the next, you know, put them down now ahead of time is fine. You know, that maybe a minute or so before the Terran army arrives, but then the oracles have already been able to place them and get back on the map and scout, figure out where units are maybe coming from, for example. And of course, then they're already in place when the Terran player starts to get back to the other side. And back is 3 mines inside of it. Just going to be seeing the oracles retreating back down the bottom left. Bioforce starting to push on forward. A few additional Marines, another Marauder, more Medivacs. All heading down to the bottom left as well. As coming across with this. Here's this first push of Clem. Again, one single stasis ward catching would slow this down significantly and give ShoWTime a little bit more time to work on some bits and pieces. The Medivac's just going to load up. There's no vision in the main. Did ShoWTime just completely miss this movement? Loses 4 probes to a little Widow Mine drop, but yeah, dropping the main base and, well, pick your target. Pylons, Robobay, probes. You know, you really have the choice of tech, army, or whatever. As we recall in, we're going to lose the Immortal as well. We're going to lift up and try and just get out. You know what? No blinks. You can't chase those Medivacs down. That is a getaway. Thank you very much. 8 dead probes. Army pulls back up into the middle here. ShoWTime getting the prism loaded up as well. The bio units will continue to unload in the center. On the left side, this prism continuing to see what else it can get up to. As our extended thermal lance coming in. Our Colossi coming in. The Ghost Academy is coming up as well. Just getting this finished in the next couple of moments. Marines and Marauders all popping out to see the prism still in the top left-hand side. Going to move to the upper right as well to try and see what else it can get up to. Well, I'm just going to chill for a couple of seconds. There's a hallucination about to come into scout. If it sees, you know, the fact that Clem's moving out, the prism might just strike right now. The sooner you start striking, the more damage you're going to do, because the less Clem has been able to build up reinforcements already. Hallucination will fall to the mine, but to be fair, I think he's seen absolutely everything he needs to. I'd be kind of shocked if this prism didn't go. Maybe he's not quite sure or fully sure that this army is actually going to be across the map, but he's going to see the Widow Mine setting up here, and like I say, I feel like we're absolutely in position to maybe make this move. I'm going to try and get in. It stops for a moment, which means it takes a few more missile turret hits. Now it's much more vulnerable to these Marines. Only 2 Zealots got out. No warping available. 6 probes going down, as well as Widow Mines are just finding their ways into mineral lines and just getting shots off too. And once again, ShoWTime is just continuing to take a bunch of damage, and now he doesn't have any presence on the map either. So as the Terran player takes their 4th base, you are still on your 3 bases. Your own 4th is not in existence just yet, so that's not exactly fun. That's not exactly brilliant. Our bio army moves around in the center a little. The Vex are going to load up. big army joining together. Just going to be seeing the medevacs down to the south then. Rest of these marauders going through the Viking as well. Phoenix still in position. You're going to chase around the medevac here. But again, this is just... Okay, well, it's a great observer at least. We're going to see the drop into the main. We will preemptively move through with Colossi. Zealots. Not a lot of Zealots. I think with the rate at which we can drop, we might have been able to just send it. The low HP medevac, if targeted, that's a full medevac. And this is now ShoWTime at least getting himself some value. Again, that observer was huge on the left side. The stasis wards are going to be huge, catching absolutely everything as they run into 2 different stasis wards, this group of units. Can ShoWTime get across there and capitalize on the capturing of these, or is he too busy defending on the right side? He's got to have something moving over there, and he does. I think he might be able to leap on those units as they pop out of their stasis. He decides not to. He's going to wait a little longer. Okay, well, he will come through and maybe try and contest the second portion, but that reinforcements are showing up as well. So Clem not really affected too much by that stasis. EMP going down, the Colossi will fall. Suddenly this left side army is nowhere near as scary, but Clem's army on the right doesn't really find much success. It's going to lift up and get out. I wouldn't say that that was super great. Didn't feel like that was a great set of trades at all for him, but he definitely won on the left side. Now he just shot down an Oracle as well, so he's removing further vision, further stasis wards. In fact, we have an Oracle left. We do have one low HP just off to the side here. Fire pressing forwards. Oracle going to get shot down by the Vikings. Our extra Bioforce coming across as Zealot's taking some extra damage. Liberator coming through. Another disruptor shot is going to fire in. Vikings still just chilling out overhead. The army of Clem retreats back over to the right side. As our libs, marauders, +2 ship weapons, +2 armor, +3 attack. All of that is building here. Our Zealots make their way to the high ground where they're going to run straight into this topside base, 12 o'clock. The SCV is already being picked away at here, and we do have the rest of this army of Clem now having to go up to deal with that. So game is already slowing down a little bit. Clem not able to keep the pressure up, and obviously ShoWTime able to find some damage himself, getting 8 SCVs. Obviously now this base will be protected, but I'll tell you what, Clem actually is going to find this next. At least he's going to stop ShoWTime getting to base 5. He delayed the 4th base heavily, if you can do that for a while. 5th base could also kind of work, I suppose. Keep ShoWTime down on that economy, stop him from being able to be comfortably kind of set up. ShoWTime actually has a pretty good bank at the moment, though. Liberator in the main base, going to find a few probes. The Phoenix that are out will come back to deal with that. Clem now on the left side. Man, there's just strike after strike, no? This Colossus gets absolutely deleted. A high energy goes, saved by the medevac healing with the Zealots chasing it. That Widow Mine goes down. The Colossus is able to pick it off. Oh, the disruptor shot that will not quite land the observers on the right side. Apparently, we're getting a little bit feisty with something. Time is still, I mean, obviously just such a difference from the last game. ShoWTime playing a much more teched up army, a much slower, less aggressive game. Clem, the one that's split across 2 locations, looking to try and break into the Protoss. We did just warp in 7 DTs, and Dark Templar at this point are a great mechanism to turn, you know, fights around. They're a great way to harass. They do have their Shadow Stride as well, so that blink available. As Clem joins everything over to the right, however, ShoWTime's going to meet him pretty quickly. A couple of disruptor shots coming through, and they actually do land. The Vikings just get rid of the Colossi every time. Like, I don't feel like we should rebuild any Colossi. Like, right now, there's just too many Vikings to justify it. It's nice to have that guaranteed splash damage in the army with the Colossus, but the last time we saw a Colossus really succeeding was, at this point, quite a while ago, as the 16... That's not 16, that's 12. The 12 Dark Templars set up to the top side. Just had to recalibrate my counting ability. 12 Dark Templar coming to the top. Instant blink on top of this base, and that's going to be the Planetary Fortress knocked out immediately. It's a good start. Kill off this turret, and we won't have detection to keep going after the DTs, and this is exactly where these games become a little bit more frustrating for the Terran player. It becomes that a little bit more difficult to play with, is, well, I guess that's a fast replacement for the Command Center at least. I'm just going to add on a few more Liberators to his army to replace the supply lost during that. Fire pushing through, a couple of Zealots taking damage, Libs coming across. Extra Liberators are producing on the top side. Our DTs and Stalkers are going to go in. The Planetary Fortress, well, it's not going to be the immediate target here. We're going to kill all the Vikings. That could re-enable Colossus production. Clem pushing on this side. He's going to be careful of the Disruptors, but he will zone them with the Liberation Zone, so the Disruptors will not find what they need. Clem ends up losing the base on the top once again, but and 8 SCVs. However, he's going to take a base out himself, and he's going to continue through, and this is dangerous, because now, well, this isn't just about bases. This is about straight-up production. Most of ShoWTime's production is in the main, and if Clem gets up that ramp and into the main base, that could be very, very scary. ShoWTime's just not set up to really fight this amount of libs, and Clem making 6 libs at a time. I mean, ShoWTime starts to initiate the base trade, which I guess is probably one of the better ways to play against this, but I just don't know if it's going to be good enough. Clem absolutely knows what he's doing here. He knows what he's setting up for. As already these Liberators are getting a lot of kills before we finally blink through. More Liberators in the back, and even just a shot here and a shot there. Getting rid of a Stalker, getting rid of a Disruptor. We had a DT knockdown. These are things that are adding up. Meanwhile, Clem's army is not being touched on the other side of the map, and so this is becoming a very one-sided base trade. ShoWTime losing his production, so the ability to keep on rebuilding is going to be gone, and that's one of the things that ShoWTime would have loved to have had as well, because he's got 3k, 2k in the bank. So losing the ability to reproduce from ShoWTime with the structures going down is only going to spell out trouble for him. This orbital command floating back over the right-hand side. The bio comes through, going to drop down this Nexus. The batteries will die, the assimilator will go down. I'm just going to be seeing the Nexus top left from ShoWTime. Is going to get back online again very soon. +3 ship weapons is coming up with the +2 libs, but ShoWTime doesn't have a lot left over. Clem's just going to go hunting down bases. Does he know about the top left? Yes, he does, so he absolutely knows they are there. That's a Liberator, hit the mineral line a bit. ShoWTime has 2 gates, one of them powered. A Robo Bay, 1 Robo Facility, that is also powered too. TLDR, there's not a lot of production is what I'm trying to get at here, right? Like, he has some, but it's really not going to be a way to spend 3k, 2k. You'd have to build a lot of production to be able to do that. He does have to Disruptors to buy him some time from Clem being able to maybe take an engagement. Is Clem going to knock down these rocks, open up some more access pathways? This round of Liberators reinforcing. We're about to fly right over the Stalkers. That wouldn't have been pretty. We do lose a couple of Liberators here. Clem trying to gather up. He's going to get those libs together now. He's hunting, man. He is on the move, looking to see what he might be able to nab in this very near future. Another Disruptor shot flies in. Not going to land just yet, however. As Master Liberator set up, Stalker's taking damage. It's going to be seen as L's being pushed back. A few Marauders will continue through. Another Disruptor shot will come in. I got another. Here come the Stalkers trying to get rid of some of these libs, but boy, there's so many of them. There's actually 10 Liberators up right now, and even just forcing these to back away a little bit means the bio can just jump on top. We drop some Desperation Force Fields to try and survive, but ShoWTime can clearly tell that this one is not going anywhere. Clem 2, ShoWTime 0. Clem wins the tournament, the qualifier.